Thank you. Everyone else.
Nice.
Cool.
That's sweet.
As I don't really have a very good image to put up here now. Anyhow, so I'd like to now invite up our speakers. I'll go in the order of the videos we just saw. So Oliver Crespo, if you would come up, and Oliver. Sure, yeah. So Oliver is the External Innovation Manager at Becton Dickinson. And was, yes, thank you, was. And now at Cepheid, am I saying it? Cepheid, yes. And has over 7 years of experience in the biotech space. And, well, I'll let you talk about yourself more later. Next up, Laura Lynn Gonzalez. You can pick your line, it's cool. And Laura is the head developer and owner at Dynamoid, which is, Dynamoid is going to be going to beta of Cosm, their new visualization platform. Thank you. And Laura has a background going back to designing displays for planetariums and the award-winning Powers of -10 app. Next up, Nick Losai. And Nick is the co-founder of 3Data, formerly known as DataViz VR. Now DataViz VR is the platform being released by 3Data. His background is in data science. He worked as a data analyst with Nike and the Milwaukee Brewers. And finally, we have Weidong Yang, who's the CEO of Kinviz and our moderator. Ray has his background is in quantum physics and the semiconductor industry. Yeah.
Thank you. Before Sweet, I'm gonna Travis, I want to show one image.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
1 second.
Yeah. So, sorry to put light on your face. I just bear with me one moment. I need something to see the discussion. Oh, you closed already. Okay, let me start again. So I just want to show you guys a hype cycle and.
Happens all the time.
So I guess this is the hype cycle of Gartner. So really, so how many of you have heard about hype cycle? Okay, wow. Yeah. So what hype cycle is some people look at all the technology development. They look at how people get really interested in something, and then the interest goes down, and at some point interest comes back. That's when the real development starts happening. So if you look at the curve where the VR is, you can't see it very well because the projector doesn't have a high quality resolution. But you can see the VR is, so this is Gartner predicting that they think the VR is at the slope of enlightenment. Basically, the real application started happening. That's my interpretation. If you look at AR, it's just went over the hump, but it's about to start. So with that, let's make them more comfortable. We're gonna turn off the projector. There you go. So looking at the curve, I have a question for you guys. And what do you think the technology has developed? In this specific situation, it's more like virtual reality technology has developed over the past few years. And where do you think the most significant development? And maybe start with Oliver.
Sure. Pass the mic. So, I agree with the way that Gardner puts the curve here. Virtual reality. When I was a kid, we had, Nintendo's Dreamcast, and it was virtual reality, right? So that was one of the first attempts at virtual reality. It's come a long way, right? So it's past that, initial innovation stage and that peak. And now we're coming out of this trough of disillusionment, and now people are saying, actually, this is more than just a video game. You can actually do interesting things with this. The interesting piece about this is there's so many different applications for VR, and you can take it anywhere. It's just we need to keep an eye out to see which are the applications that are going to be the wow use cases, and where people are going to be able to make money with them.
I guess that's a tough question. Where has it? What has been
We're
most
in the
interesting?
past.
Where versus the past?
Yeah, in the past 5 years, where do you see the most
okay.
significant development that's relevant?
Controller, the touch controllers.
Touch controllers.
Yeah, so like the interface options for, it's revolutionary, the way that the things you can do with having interfaces not on a square screen that are in the world and they're physical and they're attached to, it's just a completely different paradigm for design and being able to manipulate 3D content.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I would say the biggest shift is definitely in the hardware. When I first got into virtual reality about 3.5 years ago, it was the Oculus DK1 and Tuscany, and it was still enough to make me quit my job at the time. So
what was it?
The experience I tried?
Oh, no, like when did you?
Oh, it was 2015.
2015.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. But it was the feeling of being present in a completely different world, and it changed my life and definitely changed the way I looked at technology. But to think of the DK1 and to think we're about to be kind of in the era of standalone VR, it's been a quick 3 years to get to that point. So I definitely would say the hardware.
Yeah. Yeah, we feeling something similar to the hardware has went a long way. I think actually it would be interesting to pull a pull from the audience and see. Yeah. Now, how many of you guys are developers? Yeah. Well, how many of you have been making VR apps? Quite a few. How many of you planning on making VR apps? Yeah, awesome. How many of you planning on making data VR apps? Good. Let's see, we have a really good audience here. Yeah, cool. Thank you very much. So the next question is since the hardware is making so much difference, improved so much, but today we're here really talking about working with data in virtual reality. So in which aspect do you think the virtual reality is impacting the data? When we see the data is actually really broad term. The data has data presentation, data communication, data analytics, data exploration, or big data. Whoever knows big data, yes. But so I guess the question for you guys is from your experience working in this field, where do you see the virtual reality is impacting the data field? In which way?
Yeah, I would say the biggest impact we've had with individual enterprises is with hyperdimensional data that everyone's collecting. I mean, there's all this new kind of variables everyone's trying to plot onto a two-dimensional graph. But now with virtual reality giving us that extra access, we're actually able to plot 7 dimensions onto one visualization. And that's really what we found to be very compelling. But even past that point, we've really found collaboration to be something that really compels people to be able to work with anyone, anywhere on any device via the web VR. It's really kind of brought together this data singularity that we're trying to push. So for everyone, ubiquitous across the organization to really understand fundamentally what they're trying to communicate, data is usually just storytelling, and being able to accurately tell that story with virtual reality It's really given us an opportunity to reinvent the way people understand data.
Yeah, I agree. It's mostly about, VR is the first. It's the first time that the average person can really interact with actual, real 3D data. Unless you're a highly trained, 3D artist or programmer, you're not going to have the ability to actually, navigate in three-dimensional space. VR is just natural. It's just like the real world. So, that to me is the thing that blows most people's minds.
And I agree. I echo everything they said, especially adding the 7 dimensions. Right, you're not adding a third dimension. You're adding way more than that third dimension, and that's what makes things a lot faster. You can actually analyze data in a much shorter time, more accurately. You can see things that you couldn't see before, right? And that's, to me, I'm a scientist, not a data scientist, but I'm a scientist, and I was a geek for the type of technology that you saw here, right? So in immunology, we analyze data, but as we have more and more parameters, as an immunologist, it would take me a week to license a file, and with VR, I can do that in 10 minutes, right? So the fact that I can do my work a lot faster just by visualizing things, to me, it's very amazing.
Well, a common thing came up is dimensionalities, the ability to see and interact with the high-dimensional information that really opens up new possibilities. I heard the saying that 1 + 1 is not 2. I think in this case, 2 + 1 is way more than 3, probably more like 10 or 100. So I have a comment that I think look like you guys are speaking from your experience. Do you see like a multiple factor improvement in terms of efficiency and productivity? Maybe Laura first. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about productivity. We haven't really been actually beta testing with a lot of people, but from what my personal experience, you can. Yeah, the tools I've been developing, I got into making a platform because I wanted to get out of content production, and I wanted other people to produce that same content, and I wanted to give them the tools that are easy to use. But as I'm developing it, I'm wanting to actually build the content again because it's so easy. You can just place things, here and wherever you want. It's really, really easy. It's great.
What's the question again?
So, from your experience working with, from what you see working with the data, that data in the VR, how much of efficiency did you experience? Efficiency improvement did you experience?
Well, as I mentioned, right, something that would take me a week, I can do in 10 minutes. That's a big efficiency.
A week in 10 minutes, that's a pretty bold statement.
So
I don't think people will agree
and
with
they don't
you.
believe it when I tell them, right? One of the customers, the woman that you saw in the video, right, she was saying that she wants to see version 2.0 of that software with a larger file. She actually gave that file, and that file had 50 parameters, right? And we collected 1 million events with 50 parameters each. That's 50 million, 50 million parameters, right? And the fact that without knowing anything about the data, just visualizing the data, I was able to analyze that in 10 minutes. She was like, that takes my data scientist a week to do. And you use it in 10 minutes. And I didn't even know the parameters, right? So just by looking at clusters and visually doing clustering without knowledge of what the cluster meant. To me, that's powerful, right? Yeah. But the problem is that when I tell people that efficiency, that's not true. That can't possibly be true. It's like, I swear it's true. And that's why we created this video to show people the power, right?
It's about pattern recognition. I think that that's the natural human skill. I think that this just empowers it.
Yes, but you can do pattern recognition with machine learning, right? As she mentioned, even if you do machine learning and you have a data scientist doing machine learning for you, you need someone with a very specific skill set to do that. VR allows someone that doesn't even know what they're looking at to still do a pretty decent job at analyzing the same data set. So to me, it also decreases the need for technical expertise.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really interesting to see anytime you can increase orders of magnitude in proficiency and efficiency. I mean, it's really encouraging, and we've done a couple case studies now with larger enterprises, and across the board, we're about 12 times faster to time to insight, because we really want to quantify the value added. And it was compared to Tableau, compared to Jump, the SAS kind of software program, statistical analysis program. So it really turns, the average kind of layman of data science into someone who understands it, and the expert to, a new level of really understanding, relationships with their data. So it's really exciting to be able to, again, increase orders of magnitude when you come to productivity and efficiency, and when you start to talk about collaboration, that's just going to increase it even more.
Yeah. Well, I heard right that more than 10x improvement. That how often in your life you see an automatic improvement, and this is pretty exciting. And well, the challenge for everybody here, many of us here, is how do we let people know there's a more 10 automatic improvement? I think that's a pretty tough challenge. Yeah. So I actually have another question for the audience. I want to quickly get a feeling of the field where you come from, finance field. Anybody work in the finance? Yeah, we have one finance. How about security? Health? Health, yes. What other field can we ask?
Shout out your field.
Yeah.
What?
Shout out your field.
Yeah, well, what's your field? Can you talk?
Technology.
Technology, okay. Technology is a big field, yes. So this is Ryan from Neo4j graph database. And talk to him. And the graph database is one of the big force in driving the new innovations.
Logistics.
What logistics? Logistics, yeah.
I heard education too.
Education, yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So I guess my next question, if my iPad collaborate with me. Yes. Well, we talk about the difficulty in coming to people, the improvement in VR. So I think, what are the misconceptions you heard from people when you talk to people? What are the questions that you think shouldn't even be answered or be asked?
How much time do you have?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's really interesting to be an enterprise virtual reality application, because you expect some sort of innovation team to be working on productivity applications, but I've heard everything from, is this something that we can use to play as a first-person shooter when I'm coming in there with data visualization software. So the lack of education when it comes to enterprises and really productivity use cases and real-life use cases, I've heard everything from across the board of, this is the augmented reality headset when I walk in there with an Oculus Rift.
Yeah.
Their expectations varies across the board from depending on who you talk to.
Yeah.
And it's kind of this misconception of what the technology is really capable of. It's really kind of marketed as gaming and entertainment right now. To really break that barrier and say, hey, these are productivity tools, it really takes some fundamental evangelism on all fronts. So it's really interesting to hear the varying answers to virtual reality is used for X, and people throw every kind of use case they can think of for there. But.
Yeah, when usually when we talk to sort of the higher ups, they seem to get a little bit more of the vision, I would say. But then we get the filtered feedback from the actual workers, the data scientists or whoever. We were talking with this company that does they create container-based network infrastructure. And then we were thinking about seeing where that, and we were on the phone, and the guy who was actually building the systems, he was like, "Oh, this is just a gimmick," So it's really like the worker drones think it's a gimmick, and they are not. I think that's going to be the important thing to get them to buy in.
Well, if I remember correctly, the container industry is still using floppy disks.
In my case, it's actually the opposite. The workers thought that they didn't know if there was something there, but they didn't think it was necessarily gimmicky. The executives, they understood it at the Gartner hype curve level, right? It's like, oh, this is something, it's a buzzword we should pay attention to, but that's about it. And middle management is like, sure, go play video games. And, let me know how your game turned out.
Maybe it was a difference because it was coming up from on high, and so they were being like told to adopt this new thing.
Well, they were not even told to adopt. They were just like, okay, go play with it.
Yeah.
But that's what they're
Go
at.
play games.
And then when we came back like 4 months later and had a prototype that customers wanted to buy, they're like, wait, what? They want to buy an Oculus Rift to do data analysis? How is this possible, right? So it depends on who you talk to generally and the level of understanding. Because obviously, in the medical field, right, you talk to a CEO and it's going to be an older, usually white gentleman, and they've never heard about virtual reality or tried it before. Their kids have, maybe, but it's through video games, so they think of it as a video game platform. And when I told them, no, this is a very powerful analytics platform, they're like, what do you mean? Well, and in a way, graphics are data as well, so they just don't think about it that way.
Yeah. Well, thanks for those insights. In general, any new field that comes in, it really takes a really long time for the public to understand, let alone accept. So even for this, I think if you get 10x improvement, that is a disruptive technology innovation. But even for things like that, it's going to take a long time and a lot of effort. So this is why, personally, I feel like people working in the same field needs to work together to help each other. So to increase awareness, education of the general public, to open up the market together.
Yeah.
Now I have a quick question. How many of you heard about XR the first time today? A few people. Wow. So here, I think the awareness in the virtual reality VR technology in this room is pretty high. Yeah. So, but don't feel bad if you've never heard about it. I can tell you, 99% of the population have no idea, and I think 98% of the population have no idea what VR is. Really, it really is. So, a couple weeks ago, there was a news came out that there's a company in Los Angeles called Virtualytics. They also work in data visualization. By the way, they're going to speak in next meetup, right?
Yeah.
All right. Yes. So they will be here next meetup. But they just got and how does the field going to go? So very interesting to hear from your perspective. And maybe start from Laura.
Where is the mic?
Yeah.
We talked to a few people when we first started going. So we've been in business doing sort of 3D science visualization for a long time, and a lot of our work has been in education, and we have contracts, and so we're sort of naturally bootstrapped. And we talked to a few people in the beginning of when we first started down the VR road. And it seemed like we had missed the boat, but basically what we were told was, basically we missed the boat. All of the major funding had been given already. I don't think that that's going to be true moving forward, but I think that definitely we started off in the valley, when we were in the valley. So, Virtualytics, great. I'm really happy about that. That's awesome. That means that it's, it's a good, we're all on the right path, I think. But I think that it's so new as a field that we're just, I guess I'm personally just really excited to see where everything is going to go. And I'm actually kind of thankful that I get to help steer the direction without having to worry about being steered prematurely. So.
From the more enterprise or corporate point of view, we pay attention when investments are made, but it also matters who the money comes from and how many investments are made in a certain period of time, because that's the difference between, it's just a trend and it's just a spike versus a consistent trend, right? So the fact that they got $11 million is great. However, we need to see more companies getting funding in that area to start saying there might be something there, and who are the companies that are backing that, right? Right now, currently, VR, the main uses for VR are displaying graphical content, right? Images or video games, right? But when you start looking at more nuanced applications like data points and whatnot, abstract forms of data that are not in nature, graphical, right? And by graphical, I don't mean an Excel graph, but actually images, right? That's where there's a lot of value, and people are just barely starting to realize that there's value there, right? Where there's a lot of value there, probably more than just showing, what color swatch you want to install in your car or on your potential new car, right?
I actually was interviewed by VentureBeat about the topic of virtualytics, raising money, and I think it's great for the market. To prove that there is a market and validate that market. I think it's great to see companies start to raise real financing to be able to address the market. As we raised a little bit of financing and we're about to close, another round of financing. It definitely.
Congratulations.
Not yet. Not yet. Fingers crossed. But it's good for the industry. I'm very happy to see it get the coverage that it did, because I think it sparks a lot of people's interest, saying, hey, this is something that people are actually taking a serious look at. And there is an enterprise use case. And when it comes to data visualization, I believe it's going to be what really drives enterprises to really adopt the technology. So again, this is a united front as far as trying to push the technology, advance technology. So I hope that they come around.
Yeah. I'm going to follow with the money questions. Like, where's the money? Now, the question for you guys is, where do you it's very often like when you look from a distance, it's just one small subject, one thing. But if you walk closer, you realize there's many shades of things. And data VR already is a subcategory of the whole VR section. When you talk about VR, people think VR is one thing. Now, very easy for people to think data VR is one thing. But we work in the field, we all know there's many, many different subcategories, different directions. So the question really is, where do you see the growth point going to be for the data VR in the near future? I'm not talking about like 5-10 years later. That might be a later question. But for now, the question is, where in the near future you think the opportunity is for the data VR, given the current hardware and the population general acceptance level? Nick, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I feel like that's a multi-sided question. I think there's a ton of opportunity in complex network visualizations. I think people are really trying to understand fundamentally spatial relationships. I think it does a great job, and I'm super excited to see your product, because I think it does a great job in really giving people an intimate relationship with their data, that they can reach out and really explore this spatial relationship between nodes, between edges. I think that's going to be something that really grasps people's imagination of where this can go. I also believe geospatial overlays is going to be something that people are very interested in. Being able to overlay data onto not only real-world elements, but being able to visualize that in a virtual world. I think if you can kind of imagine, Google Earth with data overlaid onto it and having real-time data feeds, we're not too far off from that. So that's really exciting to see kind of these ways of visualizing data that just aren't possible in 2 dimensions start to really come to life. And in my experience, I think collaboration is really what is going to drive a lot of enterprises to adopt this, to be able to have a data scientist in Palo Alto start collaborating with a data scientist in Michigan, and having them both in the same virtual space looking at the same data, and being able to present that data again in real time. It's something that, again, this transformation comes once in a lifetime. So just to be kind of part of the ecosystem in this, it's a very exciting time for not only data visualization, but the technology of virtual and augmented reality as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I would say just definitely enterprise. I think we were talking with one of our clients, and he was saying, this is like it's like an uninterrupted stream of thought. You can just be in a space and pull the thing, pull different data from different places as you think of it, and visualize it, and I don't know. So I think that, yeah, that's where it's at.
And I echo what you guys said. So the analytics part and the collaboration piece. So the power of being able to see data that, or in a different way, or get more insights from the data faster, and share that result with someone else that it can be across the world.
I heard collaboration. It's where I really see there's a lot of potentials, and also the unobstructed flow of insights. We've tried referencing, and I really think you should talk to, where's Jason? Jason, yeah, no. Just he's also making something in that field. It's very interesting. You guys all should talk to him afterwards. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, how many of you own Oculus Rift? Nobody? I mean, oh, you Oculus. So a couple of weeks ago, there was incidents that we're talking about. Yeah, it's a part of Facebook, by the way. So I can share the experience. It's impossible to install Oculus Rift in China because a great firewall blocked the access, and Oculus Rift requires you to connect to the server to do anything. I don't know why they do that. I'm ranting here, but a couple of weeks ago, somebody forgot something. Do you guys know the detail?
Yeah, I know. It's like they had a security certificate that had expiration date that was like not 100 years in the future.
Yeah.
And then it expired.
Very basic.
Yeah, so it's hard to believe they can make this kind of mistake. But sure, nobody around the world were able to use Oculus Rift for one day. So coming back, I'm really curious to hear from you guys. What do you think the future hardware? What do you desire from the future hardware? Like, what do you think from the current data VR perspective? What's needed the most? Maybe Oliver, you want to start this?
Sure. It depends if you're talking virtual, mixed, or augmented reality.
It's open. Yeah.
Eventually, I think that everything will converge into augmented or mixed reality. There will be use cases that virtual will be useful for, and very specific use cases for that. One of the key advantages that we found is that virtual reality, since you're immersed and you can only see what's being presented to you, it's focus and attention. Right? So you have to be hyper-focused and hyper-attentive to something. VR is the way to go. But for adding information or enriching information, I think things are going to converge more towards the mixed reality or augmented reality.
Yeah.
And for that to happen, you have the real-time aspect, of course the frame rate aspect, how light the headset, or if it's even a headset, right? So 50 years from now it can be a contact lens, but right now we're still wearing headsets or some kind of glasses on top, right? So it's more about the form factors and the human factors around it, how clunky it is, how fast it is. Do I get dizzy using it or not?
Well, I hope that HTC continues to make headsets because they're way less buggy than Oculus in general. I was not surprised that Oculus made that mistake. But I think that as far as a lot of the stuff that we do is sort of visualizing stuff that's not in current reality. So people talk to me about augmented reality. I'm like, yeah, sure, we could do it. It's, our platform could support it if we were to spend time on it. But I don't know. I think it's really interesting to just explore different places that you're not already at. And so I don't know. I think that as a counterpoint, like that would be what I see valuable there. But I think it's going to converge. Somebody's going to come out with, like Ready Player One headset that's standalone with controllers.
Is that new movie?
Yeah.
My nephew Leon is about to watch the movie, but his kid movie comes to.
I'm interested to see what effect that has actually on the general perception of VR. It could be good, it could be bad. We'll see.
And to your point of controllers, I think the future is actually no controllers, right? HoloLens already does gestures.
Yeah.
I don't see the need to actually.
I ported my app over to the Leap Motion when it first came out, and it was just such a nightmare. I don't know. I'm not a gestures until somebody. I don't know. Nobody has solved it yet. Like, how do you tap a button? It's just doesn't work. I don't know. I'm not sold yet.
HoloLens has some similar problem too. Yeah, but in the future, it knows.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to stay in the good graces of most of the hardware vendors. I would say to see most of these headsets converge into one device, whether it's going to be something form-fitting, the size of glasses, that you have the ability to completely immerse yourself or augment the world around you. I think we're, again, kind of exploring this inside-out tracking with Oculus Go and Vive Focus being on the horizon. So as long as we keep on kind of pushing this transformation of these headsets don't need to be defined as just virtual or just augmented reality. We're going to start to get into some pretty interesting territory when we're able to immerse ourselves and then also augment, the world around us. I don't think we're that far off,
My next question is somewhat related to the last question. It's really giving your wildest dream. Where do you see this whole field will be in 5 to 10 years? I'm not interested in 20 years or 100 years from today, and I might not be there, so I'm not that interested. But 5 to 10 years, it's coming. But it's still further enough. So maybe you guys, I give you guys 30 seconds to think about it. How about that? Think about it. When I think about it, so audience members, I also give you guys some opportunity to ask the question you're interested in. So think about something you want to ask them, ask the people who has been working in the field. So let me check my time. Yeah, I think the time's up, right? Okay, time's up. Who wants to go first? Okay.
I have no idea. Well, I guess I hope that, I hope that somebody comes up with that awesome standalone headset, with some kind of way to interact with your hands, whether that's controllers or sensing your fingers. If that happens, and if it's under $500,
we're talking
maybe
the 5 to 10
$400,
years.
then then it's going to happen.
I, just to kind of echo that, I mean, again, to have something that's standalone, something that's form-fitting, and being able to traverse something like the immersive web using just a pair of glasses, I mean, that's really ideally where I would want to see this go in the next 5 to 10 years, where, again, haptic is something that you can reach out and feel, and we're not too far off, again, with, Siri being right in your ears with AirPods. You have artificial intelligence that you're able just to speak to, so have kind of the artificial intelligent component as well as being able to traverse the immersive web and all being in one standalone device. I think that's really where a lot of this technology is converging to. So ideally, in the next 5 years, if we can get there, I think we're doing pretty well, and we have a bright future with the technology.
And I think Nick is not afraid of artificial intelligence take over your job.
Oh, no. I welcome it. I welcome it.
So one thing that's for sure is going to happen is as internet gets faster, hopefully the frame rate processing also goes faster. So we still see a lot of issues. I mean, it's been improved significantly over time, but there's still frame rate issues and people that are very sensitive to the frame rate being different and getting dizzy and whatnot. So hopefully that will go away almost completely, if not completely, and in a standalone headset that can recognize gestures and something that I imagine, maybe not in 5-10 years, but similarly to how calculators replace doing mental math or the skills that they taught you in school, right? Kids in the future are going to have classes that are going to augment every single thing they do, but they probably won't even go to a classroom anymore, right? So that's kind of where I think things are.
Cool. I expect maybe 10, 20 years later, the artificial intelligence is going to replace my job. Yeah. Well, then I can just go fishing every day, right? So I'd like to see if there's any question you guys have for the panelists. Jason. Yeah.
So one of the things that I've been really interested in is exploring the balance between chart junk and so for quick background, Tofty Edward
Edward Tufte.
Yeah, Edward Tufte defines chart junk as all the stuff that shouldn't be in your data visualization. I think this crowd knows about that. And so in VR, how much, I mean, people are interested in the experience. They're interested in the color and the glow of it, a whole bunch of other aspects to it. How do you balance the chart junk versus the giving them still that memorable, exciting experience?
We just had a huge internal debate about chart junk less than 24 hours ago, so perfect time. It's a weird balance because depending on the product versus the demo, you have a completely different kind of end consumer at the who's trying the experience, and it's so bizarre that a lot of the executives really enjoy a lot of chart junk and a lot of kind of whiz bang. But we built the product for the data scientists and the financial analysts, and we try to minimize any chart junk that doesn't need to be there because we really want to keep the fidelity and kind of the quality of the data, and don't want to really jeopardize the integrity of the visualization that we're trying to offer people. So it's depending on who you talk to, we try to stay away from chart junk, but the demo is a lot of kind of extra pizzazz to it. So a little bit of both. We tiptoe that line, definitely tiptoe.
I would say that it's really about empowering the users to create the chart that they want to create. It's going to be up to them to minimize it.
It depends on the data set that you're looking at and who's looking at it. The ultimate thing is what gets me to the insight faster, right? So if it gets you to an insight, it's not really junk, and what people consider junk depends on who's the person looking at the data. So it's complex, right? Because you have different users and user personas, and one visualization that works for one person might not work for the other two, right? So it literally depends on who's looking at what you're presenting.
It's a great question, though.
Struggle with every day.
Yeah,
Can you introduce yourself?
Hey, my name's Alexander. How's it going?
Yeah, how you doing?
Hey, so I was just wondering, how did you get into VR and VR development?
You just asked a question I was thinking about asking, but I forgot. Thank you. Who wants to start?
I'm not a developer, so I don't develop VR apps. I play video games. That's what I do. And actually, I don't own an Oculus or the HTC Vive or anything, so eventually I will, but there's not enough good content out there yet. I got into it because as a manager of innovation, I saw an opportunity to improve the way that I was doing my work. I was sick and tired of having to do 50 different plots to get to an answer. And I was like, there has to be a better way of doing this. And when I saw what Oculus could do, I was like, okay. I first saw HoloLens, actually. That was my first interaction with XR, if you will. And HoloLens is awesome. However, it's super expensive and it's not good for everything. So there has to be a cheaper option or a better way to do something quicker, to prove a prototype and to show it to customers and see if there's something there. And that's how we met. Actually, through Jason, we met Wei from Canvas. And once we saw that, okay, they understand data and they can do the programming piece that I cannot do, it was very easy to say, okay, let's work together.
I've been working in 3D science visualization for my entire career. So this is, VR in a lot of ways is just the final platform that was pretty obvious. You were already working in Unity, like creating apps and stuff. So it was just natural.
Yeah, for me, this is my third startup. So the first startup I kind of founded back in 2015 was actually a 360 live streaming solution. And we were way ahead of our times. I failed miserably. But we really wanted to add a level of interactivity with the ability to interact with your environment and reach out and grab stuff. And you can't do that just by shooting 360 content. So we really kind of dove into the deep end and started to learn Unreal development and watch as many tutorials as we can. So kind of self-taught, but it was a decision that I do not regret whatsoever.
Well, I admire your effort in jumping into Unreal.
Fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Introduce yourself first.
My name is Elisa. I'm a financial analyst. I wonder what factor like prevent the VR field to grow? For example, is it funding, talents, technology infrastructure / development tools, or the market awareness, or something else?
Ooh, another good question. Okay, who wants to take on first? Yeah.
I think the easiest way to kind of summarize it is all of it. Lack of funding, a lack of awareness, a lack of people who are willing to just jump into the field. It's been a long, about 2.5 years for me, watching the technology mature, and we're still at the point where less than 1% of the world has actually tried it. So it's really tough to try to evangelize and sell the solution and try to find talent who will fit into kind of this VR development cycle without having that awareness and without having the financing. So we've definitely kind of fallen akin to Virtual Linux kind of mindset of let's get the resources to be able to not only evangelize, to get the talent, to be able to build the product and evangelize while doing it. So it's a combination of kind of all the things you listed there.
Yeah, I agree to a large extent. I say I think that I think more people we need more people who have a science and data background to become programmers, especially on a graphical level. I think that that's a lot of the. That's why I started programming, is because programs are too expensive. So, and I already knew the content, so I just do myself. But I think that that it adds a lot of overhead to try to communicate with somebody who doesn't have the background. So I think that it's not rocket science. So we should all learn to program.
And on my end, I would say it's my job was convincing other people that there was value in this and that they should let me explore this piece. And the resistance first was, okay, you just want to play video games at work. So they don't understand that it's beyond a graphic display platform, right? So that was the first challenge. And the second is finding the right use case to show that there's value in it, right? And for sales and marketing, it's pretty obvious. You can change the color of the car that you're trying to sell, or take something that is really big to a trade show where people cannot actually see it and touch it, and give them the closest thing in a virtual reality experience. However, connecting the dots for the executives that, okay, this can actually help you sell more blank, that was a challenge. And they still don't quite get it. It's like, okay, this is pretty, but what about it? It's like, no, you don't get it. It's pretty, but it's also solving a huge problem that your customer has that is preventing them from buying more instruments that make complex data because they cannot analyze it. It's like, oh, I guess you're right. And when that's the bottom line, right? That's where they make money. You're actually making an impact in how much money they're making. So connecting the dots for them, it's not simple when they don't understand the technology. So, and that's actually where I had to come in and draw the lines and connect the dots for them and explain, I'm not just playing video games, it looks like that, but and this is something that I really enjoyed. Some of the people that we interviewed is like, oh, this is fun. It's like, did you just say that analyzing data is fun? So, that's a new one, right? I've never heard that one before. So we went even beyond making things easier. We actually made it fun. So, and bringing that value back to the company, say you can capture this value, and there's value here beyond the it's pretty. That's a challenge. People don't see it naturally, right? So you have to explain it to them.
Yeah, what you said just make me a little bit sad, because there's a reason why we see building things. Usually when we see building something, there's a value behind it. There's something real. There's something that you may not understand, but something comes out that grabs you. That the beauty is something you need to go close to it. But lately, also from what we hear, is very often being beautiful has become an excuse in dismissing something, even though something have like 10x improvement, but because it's beautiful, oh, it's a gimmick. So somewhere in the past, I don't know, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, beauty somehow become something you can dismiss. So that's pretty sad. I have one last question due to time limitation. I think I would open up to everybody here. Anybody has a question, including panelists and audience? Any questions? I think I speak too much. So, all right, going once, going twice. So, all right. So let's give a round of hand to the panelists. Thank you. So, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
I'm gonna give this thing back to Sony and.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you guys. And I also wanted to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors. We have Microsoft, Samsung, Neo4j, Sandbox Suites, which is hosting us right now, Plan for Event, who provide the food, and the VR AR Association have all contributed to tonight. So thank you to all of our sponsors. Thank you guys for showing up. And I also wanted to invite Travis, our co-founder at Kinviz, to do a very quick demo. You guys can all, unless you want to have the projector shine to your faces again. But we at Kinviz are about to launch the closed beta for our new DataXR software, which is it's a graph database exploration tool. You want me to? Yeah. So, and you'll have a chance to try this out afterwards, and also Cosm, we have a demo in the back, and also I'm not sure what I'm actually allowed to say about that demo, but you can see the demo that you're not allowed to share on social media in the back as well. So just give Travis a minute to get ready here.
Nobody wants to. See if I can find my notes. You might have to hold the mic while I'm in the air. So.
All right. And Nick, can you get the lights? Oh, awesome.
All right, yeah, so hey guys, again, I'm Travis. I'm Director of R&D here at Kinviz. Thank you so much to all of the panelists for sharing their thoughts and wisdom on the situation. It's great to be surrounded by so many like-minded individuals who are excited about this technology. As we're going forward, I totally believe in everything you guys said, including the technology of interfaces. I'm currently working on a project to get real-time full-body motion capture suits into something like this so that we can start to get literally hands-on with data. It's very exciting stuff, so come back to see some of that. So what Sony said, what we have here is a 3D version of Neo4j browser. If you guys haven't tried Neo4j yet, get out there and check it out. It's very cool graph database stuff. For those of you who don't know us, a lot of us at Kinviz spend our free time also volunteering at a group called Kinetech Arts. So in our constant striving toward finding more intuitive interfaces and more easy to grok insights in data visualization, we are constantly trying to look and research on what works and what doesn't. So Kinetech Arts is a nonprofit performance art and technology group. So we work with people who are used to their physicality and understanding what it means to move and interact with things, and we try and bring some of that knowledge back. We were going to show you guys what it's like to load Facebook data and then see people who have come to Kinetech Arts events and who has come to multiple Kinetech Arts events to try and profile our own user base. Unfortunately, Cambridge Analytica screwed us literally this afternoon. They changed permissions. We can no longer pull images for people. So what we're going to do is we're going to show pages. So this is a normal Neo4j query. We're dropping it right into our VR thing. All I want to find is Kinetech Arts. This is our page. So if I hit execute, you can see here we are, we exist. And here's where the fun begins, because I'm going to go into VR, and then somebody's going to have to try and hold a mic in front of my face. So.
And not get punched.
Okay, so quick enter VR button. So now I have to find where I'm looking at. Okay. All right, so obviously it's below, so I'm going to do a quick squeeze controller to bring my data set up, and I'm going to bring it a little low. Is that making sense? So just like the standard Neo4j browser, I've got several options. Once I'm here, I can inspect what node this is. So you see, the picture and kind of the name and all that. We don't really need to see that. What I'm interested in is who Kinetech Arts is related to. So I'm going to hit this expand node button, and I see all the different pages that are linked to Kinetech Arts. So I don't know if any of you know any of these people. So here's Gray Area. Here is ODC, the 01 Arts Incubator. I don't know what that is. Let's see. Oh, that's Charlie, yeah. Okay, so what I can do now is start to find the connections between multiple groups. So this is basically an overview of the nonprofit industry or community in San Francisco. So I'm going to go to Gray Area here, which is a great organization, and I'm going to see who they're connected to. So you see here's YBCA. I'm going to pull YBCA out and put them over there. Gray Area is great. I'm going to start to spatially separate out these groups. And again, at any time, I can shrink the data set down to get really tiny with it, or I can get it gigantic and get it right in the middle of all this stuff. So my goal with this is, can we spot maybe some places where our social network is not connected? There are some friends of friends that we should know that we don't know. I'm not sure we'll be able to find one of those, but as you can see here in the middle, as we find linked connections, they kind of stand out in the middle. So let me just load a couple more. Let's see. What do you see? Here's SF MoMA. Let's open some of that up. Let's see. YBCA, more connections from them. All right, so now I've got a whole bunch of data, but it is a little confusing. So real quick, I'm going to pull up my instructions so I can see a little bit of what I need to do. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit one of these buttons because I can't see it in VR. So the first thing I'm going to do is all the unconnected nodes, I'm going to get rid of them. So I'm going to, did I hit the right button? Oh shit. Nope, not that one. Okay, so now I've gotten rid of all the single nodes and not connected anything. So all I'm seeing is nodes that have a third connection to another node. I'm going to come in here and say, this is great and all, but I really don't want to see CodeMate. Let's get them out of there. And I really, let's look at ODC later. I'm trying to think of what else do we have in here? The collapsing, so I can bring this stuff back and hide and show. So anyway, we can do leaf trimming and cleaning up all the kind of unused edges and all that. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Anything else you want to show?
The next neighbor.
I don't know how to do that in this thing. Anyway, you guys, Sony knows more about it than I do, so you should come check it out.
For yourselves.
The other thing is now that I have this data set, you see I have a keyboard over here, so then if I wanted to search for, so this is a filtering. Once I have a whole data set loaded, I can start to filter the data set. So I want to see, oh look, I know 01 is in here, so I'm going to start to search, and you see the rest of the nodes have started to dim out there to show me, the one that's important. yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So we can handle multiple databases. It works just like the Neo4j sandbox, and we're going to keep adding new stuff to it. So, yeah. There you go.
So yeah, that ends our program for the evening, but you should all check out the different demos. I haven't gotten to check out some yet, so I'm excited to try that. So yeah, stick around and demo away.